Hi, Dave Lewis, Partner Development Manager for the Global Startup Program. I'm here with Charlie Ardagh, Head of Partnerships for Tines. We're here to talk about the AWS and Tines relationship and the power of the AWS Marketplace. We really appreciate you coming in, Charlie, and spending time with us.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for asking me.
So, Charlie, for the viewers who may not be familiar with Tines, can you tell us a little bit about the company and what problems you solve for customers?
Sure. I could start with the kind of origin story at Tines.
Sure.
It's a good place to begin. The company was founded by two lifelong security practitioners who ran security teams for companies like DocuSign and eBay. And they noticed that a lot of the security analysts on their team were doing these repetitive, pretty boring, mundane tasks. And so they looked out in the market for software that could help them automate themselves out of that boring work without the support of software developers. And so they went through the usual process of issuing RFPs and asking all the big box vendors that we all know what they've got to help with that problem. And none of them had what they were looking for. So this was a sort of forcing function for Owen, the founder at Tines, to go and start building it himself. And then his initial team became the kind of design customer, and there's actually still a customer to this day. And then I guess from there the company kind of more or less grew, and now today we serve customers including like McKesson and Mars and federal customers like the nuclear laboratories here in the United States. We've raised about $150 million. And the company has grown from the two founders to now well over 200 people.
What I love about that story is just how much it overlaps with Amazon's own culture. So you may be familiar with the leadership principles, one of which is bias for action, which describes the ambition for our employees to recognize problems that aren't being solved, even if it's outside of their job function, and to basically take ownership of those issues. It sounds like that's exactly what Owen did. So it's just awesome how much our two companies overlap in terms of culture. You've built lots of partnerships over the years. There's so many different types out there: cloud providers, value-added resellers, MSPs. I'm just curious why Tines decided to partner with AWS in the first place.
So 3 years ago, when we started building out the go-to-market team, and that was around the time that I joined, a number of us kind of highlighted the need to have a cloud hyperscaler as part of that partner mix and kind of like a meeting point to bring all of those partnerships together. Tines runs on AWS. Many of the customers we had at that time were running on AWS, and many of the customers we felt we were going to acquire over time were likely also going to be running on AWS. So for that reason, that is why we prioritized AWS over other options. And we also saw, like at a kind of macro level, this shift of procurement of software moving from the traditional purchase order kind of, normal kind of process that's been around for years into the cloud marketplaces, where big enterprises had these committed spends and enterprise discount plans that could be utilized to buy software outside of the main cloud hyperscalers offerings. So we saw that was going to be a clear advantage for companies that were part of that ecosystem.
Sure. So it sounds like you saw the potential. We're looking around the corner and wanted to get on the rocket ship as early as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Charlie, you've built dozens of partnerships over the years. As you know, it's critical to get executive buy-in early. Otherwise, it's hard to get that partnership off the ground. Can you talk a little bit about how your executives got involved with the AWS relationship from the start?
Yeah, I think the way we looked at this about 3 years ago when the company was sort of building out its go-to-market team was there was this very well documented shift in how enterprises in particular were buying software, and it was moving away from an old purchase order based kind of traditional process and following their IT right into the cloud. So people were buying software through cloud marketplaces more and more. And so we recognized that, and we felt we needed to be part of that, because that's obviously large customers have got these committed spends and discount plans, et cetera, and you want to take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like not every partner leadership has the same foresight that Tines does. So do you have any advice to a fellow alliance manager that may be trying to convince their leader that partnering with AWS is worthwhile?
I think the message that I would advise is that it's not a quick win. It's a long haul, and that if they're going to get involved, that not to put themselves under pressure by promising immediate impact and results. And the key ask is patience of leadership. And I think if you can get aligned on the time horizons,
Right.
and understand that the juice is worth the squeeze down the road, that's probably the best place to try and land.
I love that quote. Like the key ask is patience.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. So I just want to follow up on something you mentioned there. Can you maybe double click into the outcomes that Tynes measures with AWS, some of the performance metrics you look at in terms of measuring the partnership?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, they're pretty standard partnership metrics, right? They're around revenue. So revenue that is influenced through the co-sell process with AWS, revenue that is sourced. So opportunities that AWS would bring us that we may not have otherwise, been aware of or had the opportunity to get involved with. But there are more nuanced sort of success indicators as well. So when you're a small, relatively small technology company and you show up to a prospective customer and AWS is sitting at the same side of the table, which happens through the co-sell, there's this kind of brand elevation that you benefit from, right? So the optics from the customer's point of view are that it's not just this small, vendor kind of on its own. They've showed up with AWS.
Let's go a bit deeper into Marketplace. It's been mentioned a few times through our discussion here. Can you maybe spend some time talking about the role that Marketplace plays in your team's sales motion?
Yeah. We discussed earlier, it's a procurement channel, right? So it's a way for us to enable our customers to buy the software using pre-approved budgets and kind of instead of this truncated, complex process of chasing paper, it's kind of one click. It's also, though, really crucially a way to bring our other partners into a customer transaction. So it's that kind of galvanizing gel that's gluing all of our different partner types together.
So Charlie, at least from my experience, Marketplace can sometimes be a foreign concept for partner sellers. They're used to working with value-added resellers, channel partners. When they come across Marketplace, they're not exactly sure what to do or how to manage it. Can you maybe talk about how you guided that change within the sales team?
Yeah, I think because AWS has been part of our go-to-market DNA from such an early time, it wasn't like we were displacing an old sales motion with this new sales motion. So that was, lucky for us, because that would have been, I think, more difficult. But there's still a considerable education kind of on-ramp for many of our sellers, right? Because not many sellers have extensive experience selling through AWS Marketplace because it's relatively new. So we have a fantastic sales enablement team who've done multiple sessions together with, our alliance lead, Jen Riken, who would help create this content. And we run regular education sessions and enablement sessions with our sellers. There's also, though, this culture, if that's the right word, of always asking a customer, are they running on AWS? Would they like to buy through the Marketplace as early as possible in that customer kind of sales conversation? And that's just part of how Tynes does things. And I think it's really clear for sellers pretty early when they join the company that that's one of the things we like to do, and it's kind of the Tynes way. And I think that is, or at least I like to think that it is landed with the sales team.
Great. Well, Charlie, I want to make sure this is a balanced discussion. Naturally, it's not all sunshine and rainbows with AWS. Can you maybe talk about challenges that you're facing in our partnership and any advice you have to us for areas of improvement?
There's an expectation, and not just from Tynes, but probably broadly, like all of the ISVs who sign up to be AWS partners have a short-term expectation of, and not unreasonable, I think, to think that if I partner with AWS, I'll get in front of all of these customers. Right. And we've learned that's not something that just turns on like a tap.
Sure.
So Yeah, I think that's just an ongoing challenge. It's just about building the awareness within AWS, within their sales teams, that Tines exists, that it's really, valuable and helpful to any customers that adopt it.
Now, where our teams have been engaged, where we're actually co-selling, has that been helpful? Has it been effective, useful for your sales team?
Yeah, I mean, without going into sort of customer specifics, we have certainly had, we've had lots of meetings with AWS account managers, and the kinds of benefits we get is a better understanding of their tech stack. Sometimes it's like a sense of the rhythm of the customer's business or buying cycles, and maybe from time to time who some critical contacts are that our team should be aware of as they navigate the sort of a proof of concept and things like that. So there's a lot of that sort of customer intel that is immensely helpful to our sellers.
Now I'm going to change gears a bit because I feel like we've been talking a lot about Marketplace and co-sell. I feel like we can't have a tech conversation without mentioning Gen AI. So what is Tines doing in the AI space?
Yeah, very topical. I think what we're doing is, being deliberate. So I think in the last, year or so, when Gen AI kind of emerged, and it's obviously been around for a long, long time, but when it emerged in kind of mainstream, a lot of tech vendors just rushed to sort of launch something. And what our product team did was waited until we could build something that was genuinely adding value to the product, genuinely helping customers navigate some friction or complexity within the product and really and truly be impactful. And so we've started down that road, and we've actually just built some features on Amazon's Bedrock AI platform, and we've had an early group of test customers. It's now launched widely, so all our customers have it. But we did some work with early customers like MyFitnessPal, who have testified to how truly valuable that the AI features are. And I think that was probably our big differentiator in how we got involved, is we waited until we could do something that was genuinely useful.
Going back to Amazon leadership principles, insist on the highest standards, making sure it's right when you launch it. I just love how much overlap our two companies have in terms of DNA. So just my final question for you, let's look into the future. So where are things heading between Tines and AWS over the next, say, 3 years?
If you go back to the founder origin story of Tines being built for security teams, in the process of helping security teams, they actually built a product that could automate any process once there was technology that was sort of based on, that had APIs. If it has an API, we can automate it. And what we've seen is our customers organically building automation outside of security. So what happens is they get their hands on Tines for security, then they see, actually, I can do all this other stuff with it. And about half of what is built in our platform is in IT, in DevOps, in HR, in CRM, all these like use cases that really we never thought, like initially the founders weren't building it for, but the customers have told us this is what we're building with Tines. So to me, what it means is that our partnership between Tines and AWS means that Tines is going to be more relevant to more teams within AWS. And I think it's just going to mean that there's just more opportunity for us to collaborate, to help customers solve and get rid of more of those mundane, repetitive tasks, and then replace it with like amazing automation that is AI powered from Tines.
What I love about that is just how complementary we are to one another. Naturally, AWS is really deep with cloud teams, infrastructure teams, to a lesser degree the security teams, but that's where you guys play so nicely. So you can help us deepen our relationships with those groups, where inversely, we can help you deepen your relationships, again, beyond security. So I just see a really nice flourishing relationship between our two organizations. So with that said, Charlie, I just wanted to thank you for coming in. I thought it was a really wonderful discussion. We're certainly looking forward to where the partnership goes next.
My pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.